Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Oh, baby, the NFL season kicking off tomorrow. Does Dallas have any chance to knock off the Super Bowl champs? Asking for a friend. Expecting big things in the desert from Kyler this year, but is the clock ticking on the Kyler-Kingsbury partnership? And old Joe Judge, all the fun times of practice. Can they turn the fun into wins? Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Oh, yeah. Welcome to First Things First. Team building. This is what we need to do. Team building. Nick and Broussard and Wilds. Lap it up, Kevin Wilds. Lap it up.
Right now, I have to. If you say so, Jenna, you're the coach of the squad. I'll be back. Lapping it up.
There it is. There it is. Well, when you get back and you dust yourself off, let's talk about this. As we get ready for the first game of this season, one more look back at the last game of last season, the Super Bowl. The Bucs won it. Can't remember who they beat, Nick. Then had themselves this boat parade for the ages. Well, over the last 2 days, Nick and Broussard have unveiled their playoff picks for each conference. Today, we are focused in on who gets to boast their parade, who's getting to the Super Bowl, who's winning the Super Bowl. Nick, kick us off. Take us through your picks.
All right, let's do this. We will give you the conference championship games and then, of course, the Super Bowl. In the AFC, Week 20 is going to be Week 1 rematch. Chiefs-Browns. Let me talk about why these two teams are there. Well, you know why the Chiefs are there. And, you know, it's a shame. You mentioned Kevin Wilds. Kevin Wilds actually right now in a strong fourth for smartest person in his family. We all know his wife Libby's number 1. But a surprising number 2, young Russie, who sent me a text talking about his fantasy team. He's like, I have Mahomes, I have Tyreek, I have Kelsey. I'm like, hey, buddy, is it individual player fantasy on defense? Chris Jones playing defensive end this year. That's a double-digit sack season. And the Chiefs, look for some draft picks of recent years. Remember Clyde Edwards-Helaire, unbelievable Week 1 last year, then quiet. He'll step up. L'Jarius Sneed. Chiefs, the only question is, will they go undefeated? Now the Browns. What is there not to like about the Browns roster? I'm just curious. What is there? Find me the flaw in the Browns roster. There isn't one. Plus, I just can't quit Jadeveon Clowney. So Week 1 is Chiefs hosting the Browns. Week 20 will be the Chiefs hosting the Browns. And much like Week 1, Week 20 is going to go like the Chiefs hosting the Browns in playoffs last year. The Chiefs will win to advance to their 3rd straight Super Bowl, becoming only the 4th team ever to do it. The Dolphins did it in the 70s. The Bills did it in the 90s. The Patriots did it in the 2010s. Now, speaking of rematches, Packers-Niners. We've seen that in the NFC Championship game just 2 short years ago. Why do I like Green Bay? Quietly, Eric Stokes, the corner they drafted in the 1st round, I think maybe Defensive Rookie of the Year potential. Rodgers loves his wide receivers for the first time in years, and the extra motivation of sticking it to the man being Gutekunst, love the Packers, and the Niners. Only worry is their quarterback going to get hurt? Well, this year, if he gets hurt, guess what? You get a better quarterback to step in. The Niners won't be bitten by the injury bug on defense the way they were last year. This is the NFC Championship game, but unlike in 2019, the Packers come out on top. Chiefs-Packers Super Bowl, the 2 most talented quarterbacks in NFL history. The Super Bowl we should have gotten last year, if not for a very, very questionable pass interference flag on the final offensive play of the game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is the one we will get this year. And much like last year's Super Bowl would have gone, this year's Super Bowl will go with the Chiefs annihilating the Packers, kicking Aaron Rodgers out of Green Bay for good, and winning their 2nd Super Bowl in 3 seasons. Chris Broussard, that is the correct bracket. I am curious how close to correct your bracket comes.
Well, Nick, I've been teaching you for years about the NBA, and now I'm seeing, at least to some degree, you're learning from me about the NFL. Because you're right about the AFC. AFC, I've got the same exact matchup, Kansas City and Cleveland. And look, this is going to be painful for my folks in Cleveland, my homeboys and homegirls in Cleveland. Y'all know I'm a native. And this is going to remind me, yes, this will remind me of the late 80s. when the Cleveland Browns used to get to the AFC Championship game 3 times in 4 years, only to be beaten repeatedly by an all-time great quarterback, John Elway.
Yeah,
and
John
this
Elway.
year will mark the 2nd straight time that they lose to Pat Mahomes in the playoffs. They'll get a step further, but that won't be much consolation. I've got the Chiefs beating the Browns in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl for, as you said, Nick, the 3rd straight time. We go out to the NFC. That's where you went off the rails. All right. The Rams, everybody's praising Matt Stafford. I talked about, all the pundits picking the Rams to get to the Super Bowl. They're close. They were just a smidge, a hit, a scooch too ambitious. All right, the Rams will get to the NFC title game. That defense is stout. Matt Stafford will have a very good season, but when they run into the GOAT, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, that defense will be too much for Stafford in his first trip that deep in the playoffs. And then Tom Brady will play really good, but not great, but really good. And the defense will be strong, and the Buccaneers will get back to the Super Bowl for the 2nd straight time. And there you have it. It'll be a rematch. The first rematch in the Super Bowl since Dallas and Buffalo way back in Super Bowls 27 and 28 in the early 90s. And this time, though, Dallas waxed Buffalo both of those years. This time, see, if you've been watching closely, Nick, and I think you'll agree with this, if you watch what the Chiefs have been saying, how they've been talking, how they've been handling their business, they remind me of the San Antonio Spurs in 2013, 2014, when they were so upset about losing that championship to Miami that they came back incredibly focused for the next season. And I think that's the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs want Tampa Bay. I mean, they'll take whoever they get in the Super Bowl and beat them, but they want Tampa Bay.
Give them to us.
And I think when they get them this year, yes, they want the Buccaneers. And this time, and here's the other factor, Nick. I believe I was the first. Now, I know he's your man. I know it's your hometown team, and you want to claim all things Pat Mahomes. But I believe I was the first national pundit to say that he has GOAT potential. All right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I may have been the first. GOAT potential. Now, he's obviously got to win a lot of Super Bowls, but he also has to beat Tom Brady. He's lost twice to him in huge games. 2018 in the AFC Championship game, obviously last year in the Super Bowl. If he loses again to a 40-something, 3 losses to a 40-something Brady in the big games, that'll hurt his case no matter what he does going forward. So Pat Mahomes has to win this for the GOAT combo as well. So I think he does, and the Kansas City Chiefs avenge themselves and win the Super Bowl rematch.
Wilds, just real quick, because Broussard is correct. He was the first person to call Mahomes with GOAT potential. The problem is, as he did twice there, he said Pat Mahomes, and it's Patrick. His mother's made it very clear, do not call him Pat. So, no, it didn't count. He got the name wrong. It's Patrick Mahomes. Friends call him Patty. Nobody calls him Pat. But Wilds, are we going 3 for 3 on Chiefs winning the Super Bowl?
No. Okay. So you know I like you. You know I like my son's fantasy football team. You know I have a particular fondness for the Fountains of Kansas City. However, the one thing I hate
second most fountains in the world
is other guy syndrome. I think other guy syndrome is one of the most dangerous mindsets you can have. You don't need to wear a seatbelt. That happens to other guys. You don't need insurance. That happens to other guys. You don't need to get that thing checked out. That happens to other guys. And when we look at the last 20 years of teams that went to the Super Bowl and lost, they are not great. And I know what you're going to say. Wilds, that's not the Chief. That happens to other guys. That doesn't happen to the Chiefs. But here are the statistics. And this is the last century. The Super Bowl loser, 10 teams have missed the playoffs. 7 teams lost their first playoff game. 3 teams won only 1 playoff games. 2 teams won multiple playoff games, and only 1 team went back to the Super Bowl. that team won it. That team was the 2018 Patriots.
The Patriots.
So you can tell me that it's not, right? What are you going to say? That was all other teams. That could not happen. That happens to other guys.
That's not what I'm going to say.
But some combination of injuries, bad luck, sort of complacence, or having a target on your back spells for a disappointing season. So I am not buying. I will take, if it's Chiefs or the field, I will take the field. I do not think the Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl following a 20-year trend of the Super Bowl loser having a disappointing season.
Yeah, so a couple things with that. First of all, Wilds, your ability to predict what I'm going to say is right in line evidently with your ability to predict who's going to win the Super Bowl. It's terrible because I'm not going to say that happens to other teams. What I am going to say is, oh, wait, so the one Super Bowl loser that went back and won the Super Bowl had the, at the time, GOAT playing quarterback. Oh, that bodes quite nicely for the team that currently has the guy who's going to be the GOAT playing quarterback. And like, did any of those teams...